Yes, I know the Declan Rice rumours are 2-3 days old now, but I've been busy and I wanted to talk about it anyway. So it's a little bit about the Declan Rice rumours, where he's been linked to, and then it's a bit about the transfer market in general, but they sort of intertwine a little bit. We'll get onto the transfer market in a bit. We'll deal with the rumours that's regarding Declan Rice being linked to, in particular, Arsenal, Manchester United and Chelsea. Now I'm almost going to do a process of elimination here. Where could he feasibly end up? I think I'm going to stick with the Premier League clubs because I just don't see the abroad move happening for various reasons. So I'm going to stick with the English clubs here. The first one is Man United. He's been linked with them a lot over the last year, 18 months. Consistently, Man United and Declan Rice is a link that's been in the newspapers, and I can understand why. I'm not that convinced they need him though. Fred, I think, has been their player of the year. In my opinion, he's been Man United's player of the year. I think McTominay is a fantastic player, but they are lacking in a little bit of depth in that centre midfield area. But would you spend so much money on someone who isn't initially going to get into the first team ahead of those two? I know that's not going to be a popular opinion among West Ham fans, but it's my opinion. I'm not convinced he would dislodge either of those immediately. He might play alongside them, but then you're sort of compromising Bruno Fernandes. So Fernandes has to start in the middle as well. So that's that one. Arsenal, I just don't see it. They've got Guendouzi in there. They've got Torreira, Xhaka. Now, I know they're not all defensive midfielders, but that's how they've been used at Arsenal a little bit in order to have that extra attacking player. And Arteta clearly wants to try and build a team around Ozil, which means that they're going to have two centre midfielders. And I'm not sure he would spend all that money to make Declan Rice one of those. I just don't see the Arsenal one happening. There's no point discussing Spurs for obvious reasons. And then we've got Man City. I'll come back to them. Chelsea's the popular one, understandably. He's a Chelsea fan. He obviously had his childhood at the Chelsea Academy. His best friend plays for Chelsea. They're more likely to win things than West Ham. But again, I am not convinced that they need a defensive midfielder. Jorginho has been superb this season for him. I think Kovacic has been one of the best players in the league. Different style, I know, but it's still the same area of the pitch. There's a lot of talk that Conte is going to be leaving Chelsea. He's past his prime, if you like. I really don't see Conte and Declan Rice being similar players. When Conte was at Leicester, I'll give you that. But since he's gone to Chelsea, he's much more box-to-box under Lampard. So if Lampard's selling someone that he sees as a box-to-box midfielder, surely what he wants is the equivalent, and that's just not Declan Rice. So you'd have to shift Jorginho. Now that's going to be a big fee, and it's probably going to be an Italian club, so that would have to happen before I could see the Declan Rice thing happening. As for Man City, well, I've not been that impressed by Rodri this season, to be honest with you. I watched City, and I think Fernandinho last season in the same role was streets ahead what we're seeing from Rodri. But would Pep put Declan into that role? I'm still not convinced. I think he'd rather give Rodri another season and hopefully see the world-class player that we know he can be. But when I said this on Twitter, just pretty much that, someone said, well, I could see Man City buying him to play centre-back. And I thought, well, that's an interesting thing. Because I can as well, actually. I can see Declan. And Declan even recently, I can't remember why, in the last few months anyway, certainly did not close a door on a return to playing centre-back as for the future of his career. He sort of said that he could play there. He can see himself playing there. Naturally, he was a centre-back before he's almost had two really good positions, and I think there's always been a bit of an emphasis on him to nail down one. Now, he's done that at West Ham as a defensive midfielder, but could he be turned into centre-back for one of these clubs that we've mentioned? So City, I could see that feasible because they've had a bit of a nightmare finding someone to play next to Laporte. We know Otamendi's not good enough. Stones is extremely unreliable. Fernandinho is a very makeshift centre-back, and I'm still not convinced by him as a centre-back either. So I can really see that happening possibly. At Chelsea, I can't see that though. They've got Zuma, Rudiger, Christensen, Tomori. That's 4 centre-backs already. Man United, again, I can't see it. Maguire's dead, sir, and then you've got Lindelof and Bally there as well. So all of a sudden you're ruling out the team. You're thinking, well, who would buy Declan? Who would buy Declan? I'm not that sold that anyone would, considering the amount of money that West Ham can command for him. So I'm pretty relaxed about the whole rumour thing as well. But now I'm going to start to talk about the transfer market in general here, because this is important, and that is who can afford him. Now, those clubs probably can, and I do think Man United are going to have a chest of cash this summer. I can see Pogba still going to Real Madrid, because if there's any club in the world that you expect to still splash a load of cash, it is probably Real Madrid. And then Pogba is probably quite high up on their shortlist. But would they still go for Declan? I don't know. We'll wait and see. Or maybe I'm wrong, but I'm still relaxed about it all. But I'm going to get onto that in a second as to why I'm even more relaxed. This transfer market, I think, is going to be really strange because there's no guarantee that every country is going to start their next season. To be fair, that's not even a guarantee anyway if they even start a next season. But let's just say, hypothetically, they all have a next season. There's no guarantee they all start at the same time. Some countries, we're getting told the 1st of September is when they're trying to aim to get next season underway in England. So let's take that date. Now, as we know, the football has been banned in... live sport's been banned in Holland and France until the 1st of September as a minimum. So it could easily get pushbacks. Italy and Spain, we don't know about yet. They haven't decided. Germany are a little bit more proactive, although things are happening over there, which might suggest a further postponement. But this summer could be a bit strange in the sense that each country could start date for next season could be months apart. Someone could start on the 1st of September and someone might not start until the middle of October or something. So the clubs that are looking to buy players, their mindset's going to be totally different. If you're not starting until the middle of October, are you going to try and sign players in the middle of August? Probably not. Are you going to be looking to sell your players? Again, probably not. So when England, if they do go back in the 1st of December trying to buy players, the clubs they're potentially dealing with abroad just have no interest in transfer dealings at that current time. So I think we're going to see a lot of cash staying inside each country. So I think Premier League clubs will buy up Premier League clubs in lower league. Italy will do the same in Italy and so on and so forth. So I don't think there'll be too much crossing borders, if you like. Because how are you supposed to negotiate these things as well? Normally, when you've agreed a fee or whatever, the player flies into the country for the personal talks, medical. He brings an entourage with him, whether that's his family, his agent, so on. I can't see that happening. I just can't see it happening very often. Also, West Ham, as we know, like to send people out to countries to deal with the transfer fee in the first place, which is natural. It's good. I like that idea. I like the fact that we would send someone to deal with it in person rather than doing it over email, because we've seen what happens when we try the email thing. We start threatening to loan players from other clubs. So this personal interaction is going to be on a much lesser scale, which is going to make transfer dealing harder. But I think within the same country, it's going to be slightly easier. And I think that's why we're going to see a lot of cash staying in our countries. I think West Ham's main buying policy is going to be within the Premier League and the Championship, which is what we're expecting anyway. But we've now been told that Declan could be the one that's sold, so to fund Moyes' overhaul. And this is where I contradict myself earlier. I've done my process of elimination. I'm not convinced anyone perhaps wants to buy Declan, but I can almost get why Moyes would want to sell him. And that's to simply raise the funds, but also this whole overhaul tag, which makes sense. I get why Moyes would come in and want to get 2 or 3 players out and bring in 2 or 3 players, because I do think we're going to see a one-out, one-in policy at West Ham. Zabaleta and Sanchez's contracts are up, they're away, but Ngaki has replaced Zabaleta, hasn't he? And Sanchez doesn't need replaced. He wasn't really a player in David Moyes' squad, so we don't really need to replace him. We could do with an extra body in centre midfield, but it's not so much to replace Sanchez, more to upgrade that position and then, I suppose, put Noble on the bench in theory. So Moyes is wanting to do an overhaul. I can see why he's looking at Declan thinking, best to get rid of this guy, because next season is going to be the bedding in. It's going to be the transition, if you like, from the Pellegrini squad to the Moyes squad. It's going to be next season, regardless of who we sell and who we buy. It's going to be time to see Moyes, because he's had 2 half seasons, hasn't he? He's not had a full season yet. This is his first pre-season with the... Not much of a pre-season, is it? But it's going to be his first summer with the club, so he's going to be able to now do what he wants with the squad. And raising funds is part of that, but also if he does do an overhaul and then Declan remains at West Ham, unless, because a lot of people are saying, I think he'll go next summer after the Euros or whatever, fine. But then if we've done the overhaul now and next summer we sell Declan Rice, what's going to happen? We've now got another mini overhaul on our hands. Moyes is going to have to bring in another 3-4 players in with that money and bed them in further. And I just think it's not like... It's a very slow process, isn't it? This when you do the whole overhaul thing, you almost want to do it in a season. You want to have a big summer, like what Pellegrini done when he first came in. He went and spent a load of money, got his players in. He had that season, and this is why I think it was perfectly feasible to expect us to kick on this season we're currently in, because you've had the year together now. Let's see what you've got. I think that's the same for Moyes. He's got this summer, next season is, I guess, survive. Let's just get the players used to the way you want to play, work out which players can play where and whatnot. But the following season, let's kick on. Let's go for the cup. Let's try and get into the top 10 and perhaps a little bit further. And if we are selling our main player, because if Rice stays next season, he will be our main player, so make no mistake about it. We'll be selling potentially our best and main player next summer, and we've already got the keeper situation then potentially, because Fabianski's contract will be up, so we're already going to have to replace our number 1. I don't really want to have to replace the defensive midfielder as well. That's 2 of your starting 11 gone. That's a big part of your spine taking out your team. So I can understand why David Moyes is perhaps thinking, this is one guy I could sell and raise a load of money for. It'll be a sad time, but every player's got his price, hasn't he? Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments below. Do you think Declan will go or not? I'm in 2 minds. I can see why Moyes will sell him, get the money in. But I struggle to see his final destination because of his price tag that's attached to him. I don't know. Maybe I'm overrating the opposition and underrating Declan Rice. I'm not sure. But also check out our Tifo video we've done. Charlie heavily edited. I just sat on my arse for 10 minutes. It's a bit longer than 10 minutes. I sat on my arse watching our Tifo video, commenting on it, and Charlie edited it up and made it a good video in my opinion. It's on your screen in a second. Drop a thumbs up if you've enjoyed this video. Subscribe if you're new around here. We've got a quiz coming up this weekend, Saturday night, West Ham quiz. Number 3 is back. We're working on it. It takes a little bit of time to do all the graphics and stuff, so we're doing that. There's a FIFA game with myself and Gonzo going up soon. Lots of content. Anyway, be good, be safe, and I'll see you on the next video.